This is my peer review for Amy Norton. Physical skills. What do you find most interesting about their physical performance? When I watched your performance, Amy, I really loved how much energy you put into it. So ever since the moment you stepped on stage, it was just full of complete energy. You never ever dropped that energy, never came out of character, even though you were obviously very tired because your scenes were very long. You never ever dropped the energy. You were always smiling. You kept that sort of princessy voice that you had, and you were always keeping the energy there, which is great for the kids because it keeps them really engaged. I also really like how you interact with the audience, so you make eye contact with them a lot. You add in little bits if an audience member shouts something out to you. You're always adding in improvisation and waving at the audience. I noticed you waving at the audience when you were singing your songs, so I found that really interesting. So the energy and the interaction. How could they experiment more with their movement? Sometimes I think you could have been a little bit bigger with your gestures, particularly in the song I'll Be There For You. I think it's a very over the top, very cheesy song. You could have been bigger with your gestures. Sometimes I felt like they were a bit small, like in particular when you punch Joe round the face. That could have been much bigger, just to add to that comedy, really drag out those comedy moments with the big gestures. When Joe's serenading you in your songs, maybe you could have had bigger facial expressions, bigger reactions, so just bigger with the gestures. What was good about their physicality? I really loved how when you came on stage, you always kept a princess-like posture, and what I mean by that is very elegant movements with your hands. You never slouched. You were always, you always stayed very elegant, particularly, with your hands. Princesses aren't always, manly with their hands. They're always nice and elegant hands, elegant gestures. I also found it funny how you would have moments where those elegant gestures would drop. So again, for example, when you go to punch Joe round the face in I'll Be There For You, you kind of drop out of that image that you're holding as Fitzwarren's daughter, this elegant, pure image, and it's funny watching the moments where you drop that sort of act. Have you remembered your blocking and movement? Yeah, you definitely remembered all your blocking and your movement, and didn't see any moments where you didn't know what you were doing. So yeah, I think you did really well with that. Do you use appropriate gestures and facial expressions? If so, where and how effective are they? I think you definitely use appropriate gestures and facial expressions. One moment where it stood out for me in particular was when you're singing Somewhere Out There with Joe. It's a very emotional song. You're missing the man that you're in love with. And I definitely think that you showed that emotion, you showed that sadness just by the look in your eye, making eye contact with the audience and having sort of sad facial expressions and, drooping your head down and looking all small and sad, looking to the floor. So that was really good. What could be improved? Even better if. I think that your performance could be even better if you added a little bit more movement to your sort of monologue bit just before Somewhere Out There, where you're telling the audience how much you miss Dick. I think maybe what you could have done there is perhaps be a bit more frantic, running around the stage a bit more. Where can I find him? Where will he be? Talking more to the audience. Like maybe you could have asked the audience, where do you think he is? Do you think I'll ever find him? Maybe just exaggerated more on that monologue just to make it seem like you're more desperate, like Alice is more desperate to find Dick. Characterization. Are they using appropriate acting techniques? Yeah, I definitely believe that you were using appropriate acting techniques. You were, you took the role of the sort of princessy character, Alice, the gentle damsel in distress sort of character, and you added in sort of stereotypically what Cinderella might be like, so sort of the elegant, sweet voice, smiley, positive, happy, looking at the audience and waving and smiling, a very, very friendly, sweet character that everybody loves. I think you definitely did that really well. Is this an appropriate portrayal of the character? Yes, definitely. So if we're thinking about fairy princesses, so Belle, Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Alice is very similar to those characters, and you definitely played Alice like a Disney princess, I think. So definitely was a very appropriate portrayal of the character. Can you identify their level of tension? Do they show their feelings physically? Yeah, you could definitely tell when she's feeling excited. She's big with her arms and her facial expressions and, skipping around on stage. And when you're sad, you look to the floor, you sort of hold your hands together, you walk very slowly. So you can definitely tell the way that you're feeling just by the way you enter the stage. If you were to take away the dialogue, I would still be able to tell how your character's feeling just by the way that you were showing your feelings physically. Is there or your character's objective clear in each scene? I think that your objectives in every scene that you play have been very clear for the audience. So when you're looking for Jack, you're always, not Jack, sorry, when you're looking for Dick, you're, you can tell that you're frantic, you're stressed, you're worried, you're sad. Obviously when you get given the opportunity to go out and play with your friends, when the captain says, someone else should mind the ship, you can tell you're excited just by the way you're skipping around on stage. You can tell you're in love by the way that you sort of look at Dick with big googly eyes. And so yeah, your objectives, for me, they were very, very clear. Is the acting technique to the style of the performance? Entrances, stance, exit, audience interaction. Yeah. I think your acting techniques were very appropriate to the style. The style is pantomime, so there's a lot of audience interaction. It's young children, so it needs to be big. I think there were moments where you could have been a bit bigger with your gestures, and perhaps a little bit louder, just so that you don't lose, the audience, lose your audience, just because the audience are such young people. So we have children who are as young as 4 years old, and so I think it's really important that you make sure your voice and your gestures are as big as possible. But other than that, you use audience interaction well. Your entrances are always big and exciting. The way you stand, you always stand like a princess would stand. You're always staying in character when you exit. You never come out of character until you're out the room, which is vital in pantomime because you don't want to kill the magic for the children. So I definitely think your acting techniques to this style of performance are very appropriate. Do they or you use a range of emotions and actions used to meet their character's objective? Again, yes. So your emotions are excitable. You are very excitable. You can tell that you're just a young girl who's fed up of working for your dad, and when you get given the opportunity to go and play with your friends, you're excited. You clap your hands. You're happy in your voice. Oh, yay! You smile, and when you fall in love, you do the stereotypical, so sort of like tilting your head to the side and rubbing your hands and grinning like a cheesy grin. When you are sad, you look to the floor. You have a sad tone of voice, sounding like you're going to cry. So your emotions were really clear. And it showed exactly what your character... You could tell that your character was just wanting to help Dick, was very kind, very loyal. Do they or you react to other characters on stage? Yes. So whenever I've seen you on stage where you're not the main... where it's not you talking, where it's somebody else, you always react to what's going on. So you're listening, you're watching, you're reacting to what's going on around you. Instead of just thinking, oh, this isn't me speaking, I'll just wait for my line. You're reacting to each scene as if that was really you in that scenario, which was really good. List of further skills to consider. Vocal skills, grade from 1 to 10. Then describe what is good and what needs improving below each skill. Vocals, loudness, I'm going to give you a 7. I think you could be louder in places, just because when you have screaming children, you want to make sure that you are as loud as possible. Emotion tone, 10. You have a very energetic emotional tone when you are excited, and also when you're sad. You portray it well through your tone of voice. Pace, 8. I think you kept to a good and quite steady pace, but you could have perhaps slowed it down at times just so that you really get the story across. Rhythm, 8. I think you kept a really good rhythm. Again, like I said, you could have just experimented with a slower pace so you can get the story across properly. Comedy, timing, pausing. I'm going to give you an 8. I think you definitely paused at appropriate times. You didn't go too fast. But you could have possibly looked at if there was any way you could pause for longer to make it, more funny. Accent, dialect, 10. I think you spoke really, really clearly. You sounded really princessy in your voice. Your accent was really sweet and really mellow, which I liked a lot for the character. Diction, 10. Your diction was really clear and you projected really well, in my opinion. Pitch, 8. I think you used quite a high-pitched voice to show that you were a princessy, sweet, innocent young girl. And I really liked that. Fluidity, I'm going to give you an 8. You worked really well with other people. There was never awkward pauses, and that worked really well. Movement, posture, 10. I think your posture was really good. You showed that you were a princessy, sweet, innocent girl by standing nice and proper, but you also had moments where you would stand like a teenager, which is sort of, your age, I would say, is about 16. You showed that well, so a young girl. Facial expressions, 9. You used your facial expressions really well and changed them according to what the scenario of each scene was. Gestures, I'm going to give you a 7, just because I think you could have experimented a little bit more with your gestures. Openness and confidence, 10. You could tell that you were very confident. Use of space, 7. I think you used your space well, but there were moments where you could have used it a little bit more, in particular just before somewhere out there. Eye contact, 7. I could see you making eye contact in each rehearsal. I can see you making eye contact with us. Just keep that eye contact, just because your character is the one that everyone loves, so maybe try and just add in as much eye contact as possible, just so the kids feel attached to you and like they can relate to you. Energy, 10. You always give it 100% energy. Spatial awareness, 10. You were always very aware of everyone else on the scene. Audience interaction, 7. Could do a little bit more of it, although I have noticed you waving at times, but you know, just because you are the sort of role model to all the little girls, maybe a little bit more. Timing, 10. Your timing was always well rehearsed and clear. Memory, 10. You always remembered all of your lines and your choreography, so you did very well.